What's up, my dudes? Oh man. Get the off my stage. I'm the Zen Man. Here we go, dogs. We got us a little bit of rut tester video on the Valley of Pistons here on MX versus ATV Alive. Yeah, brother. Been wanting to do some more of these rut tester videos. Going to be doing the maximum amount of laps. I think it's like, is it 20 or is it 30 in this game? I can't remember exactly, but one of the two. We're going to see how this track develops here. This is a triple that I got the speed. Yes, sir. It's also been a hot minute since I've really played this game. So it's going to take me a second to get my skills back. Whoa, bro. Some of these, with the physics of this game, you can get to riding a wheelie up some of these big hill sections, and you're kind of like, you're literally riding a wheelie and then trying to, like, scrub just off of the back wheel, you know, at the top of the hill. It's like, holy shit. Gets a little scurry when you do that in this game. But yeah, how many of you guys even still play this game? Let me know down in the comments. I think part of the reason why this game is not really, I guess you could say, played as much or like covered as much nowadays is because, A, is this game even on PC? I don't think so. I'm playing this game on an Xbox 360, by the way. Good old Classico. All right, there's the first lap. We'll start seeing what this does here. But yeah, I'm playing this on the 360, but I think this game was never actually released for PC and also never had a track editor on top of that, right? And if you don't know, we literally have Reflex, which is the game that came out before this on PC with a track editor. We also have the game before Reflex, the game before Untamed, which was Unleashed. MX vs. ATV Unleashed. We have that on PC with a track editor, and it came out before most of you boys is born, right? And then we got the game right after Alive on PC with a track editor. It now has a track editor with the Steam Workshop support and all that shit. I'm talking about MX vs. ATV Supercross Encore, right? So it's pretty crazy that this game and Untamed are the two that were just never on PC and never had a track editor to them. I don't really know why, per se, that was the case. I have no idea. You would have to imagine it's kind of the same style of a track editor. I mean, I couldn't imagine it being, man, I am dog shit at this game now. Oh, my God. It's going to take me a minute here. Okay, certainly when I'm trying to talk and go fast in this game, it gets pretty crazy. When you get going real fast on a live, that screen shake just gets so insane, and you got to look so far ahead. You know what I mean? You really got to have a little bit of focus. Spency boy getting that ass end out. You need to start like hitting that more to the outside. I'm like killing all of my momentum in the middle right there. But, yeah, it's always fun to come back to these older MX versus ATV games. This one I don't even really consider this one like an old one, but it's kind of funny how it is kind of now developing into that. I am going to download the DLC for this game again. I had it on my old profile, but I'm going to download it again. That way I can check out all the DLC and some videos for this game again. I know there was that, like, Quarry, a couple of those Quarry motocross tracks. There was that one that had 252 stroke on it. That was back in the, what would that have been, 2011 days? 2012 days? So, but yeah, I mean, Reflex was really the first arcade motocross game that I got super hardcore into. Obviously, I played Unleashed, Untamed, and then Reflex was the one that really like kind of took over my life. And then when Alive came out, it just never seemed to stack up to Reflex to me in my head. Like, in any kind of way. Obviously, you have the James Stewart compound in Alive, which is kick-ass, but like other than that, it's just, it's like, especially some of you boys that's really played Reflex on the 360 back in the day for a long time, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. It just didn't, nothing about the physics of Alive do I feel like are actually better, just straight up better than Reflex. I don't think any aspect of it is. Scrub Daddy Fatty. I don't think any of like the amount of content or different types of tracks is any better in Alive than it is Reflex. You don't even have a Supercross series in Alive, so that's kind of trash. You don't really have a trail series in Alive, you know. Now, when it comes to the terrain deformation, Alive is probably the closest to Reflex of any of the other MX vs. ATV games, but I still don't think it's better than Reflex's terrain deformation system, right? But it is a lot better than a lot of the horse shit we've been getting in the Milestone games. I mean, that's just like an obvious at this point. But, yeah, they added all of like the super motion blur shit whenever you start going really fast. Feels like you're, you know, there's like an earthquake on the screen in this game. It didn't really do that as much on Reflex. And I don't necessarily know how much I really like that about Alive, because it kind of makes it look a little silly in my opinion when you get going super fast. But yeah, there's still some pretty decent motocross tracks in this game with some good jump skill gap, and certainly once you get the terrain deformation going, it definitely does a little bit to that as well. So we're probably on lap like 3 or 4 right now. You kind of see the ruts developing here. So not doing a crazy amount. They still feel pretty soft right now. Is that the first time I crashed? I think it is. Let me just side saddle the bike real quick, dogs. But yeah, even though it's a dry, hard pack style, blue groove style track, the ruts still feel pretty soft at the moment, but they should get dug in a little more here. See what kind of line we want to hit right here. Is it just like a triple? Oh my God, let me jump to the corner and back. Okay. And I need to jump that down the hill. Trying to remember these little fast lines on this track. But it's almost like you get going so fast in this game, and with the motion blur and everything, it's like your eyes can't even keep up with where the next part of the track is. I do kind of get that feeling a little bit in this game. It's just like, oh my God, you know, you get going so fast you can't even tell what the hell's going on. I don't know, man. There's just a lot of intangibles that Reflex had on the 360 specifically had to it. And all those like stock tracks on Reflex, I don't know, Doug. She's just on another level. But okay, so now it's kind of getting wore down like you had four-wheeler day out here, pissed off all the dirt bike riders, right? Had a little four-wheeler day, kicking up the dust out here, Doug. Kind of what the deformation looks like right now. See, Ruts going up the jump face there, but it's not really going to affect the bike too much. I thought it was going to feel a little more sturdy, hard, packy rut feeling, but it's not really done that yet. We'll see what happens here, though, the more we go. Whoa, just holding that gas on, Doug. Just holding her down. Ripping that too fatty. The fastest bike in the game. It's insane. Not technically the fastest bike. It's not technically faster than the 450. It's just so much more nimble that it makes it feel faster, and you can actually maneuver the bike better, therefore making you go faster and quicker around tracks. In my humble opinion, I feel that way about Alive. I feel like the 250s are just better than the 450s, man. It's pretty rare to have a motocross game like that. Typically, that is not the case. I know MX Bikes is kind of like that a little bit. I feel like the 350s are actually better than the 450s on most tracks on MX Bikes. Of course, the track does make a difference, because if you make it wide open as hell, then obviously the 450 is going to pull away a little on MX Bikes, but not on those tight-ass one-to-one scaling tracks, I can tell you that. Oh, tires, dude, tires. Got some tires out here. But yeah, man, it is weird how how it all, like, just the MX versus ATV team changed from going from Reflex to Alive, you know? Going from Rainbow Studios then to THQ, or just Nordic, I guess you'd say. And, yeah, THQ's been there forever. It's Rainbow Studios and THQ, and then it went to Nordic, and they kind of dropped Rainbows, and now I think Rainbow Studios back on it again now with All Out. So we'll see what happens with that next MX versus ATV game. I did hear that they, sort of announced it on a reply on Instagram or some shit. Could have been Twitter. I don't know. Be sure you go follow me up on Twitter, Instagram, add me on Snapchat. All that shit is just Spencer Turley, no spaces and no capital letters, and I'll add you back. And if you want to get in the Discord, all you have to do is DM me on Instagram. Let me know you want to get in the Discord, and I will get you in there, bro. But, yeah, okay, not a crazy amount of rut design. One thing I did realize when I was playing Reflex the other day was it really does make the ruts completely differently on a track whenever you're just on there by yourself and you're hitting, like, similar lines. Ooh, it's kicking down that face a little now on the finish line. But that's one thing I noticed on Reflex. Like, when you're on there with AI, it's going to kind of just wear the track down evenly everywhere almost is kind of what it feels like, unless you're on a sand track, right? But when you're on there by yourself, you can really dig in a certain line on a track, and it's not going to feel as, four-wheeler-y deformation, if you will, with the just kind of ruts in every spot, and it just kind of smooths it out almost in a sense. When you're on Reflex, even on some of the tracks that aren't sand tracks, if you're by yourself and you run, 20, 30 laps on a track and you're kind of hitting the same line, it really works in a different style of a rut than you're going to have just like on there with AI for, the maximum amount of laps. But yeah, got a little rut going up this. Let me bop this dude real quick. Oh my God. That was another thing I wasn't the biggest fan of with Alive was the collision. I mean, I'm not saying Reflex's collision was perfect, but this was kind of the start to the weird-ass, like, land on a dude's head and nothing happens, and that weird, like, just running into each other for an infinity and beyond and nobody goes down. And it's kind of carried over into a lot of these modern arcade motocross games as well. Like, I know the official Supercross games are like that as far as landing on somebody. It's not even going to crash the dude in front of you when you land your fucking frame directly on his face. It's not going to do anything, which is just bizarrely unrealistic, like unexplainably unrealistic. But so I definitely prefer the collision of Reflex than I do Alive. Alive does allow for more racing in a sense, I guess you could say, but not really, because if you've ever sat there and just duked it out with your buddies on Reflex, like, you can still duke it out on Reflex without just instantly crashing when you barely touch. You can still do that on Reflex. You just kind of, but there is some times that you will pop off, which is the way it really should be. You don't want it to be never pop off when you run into somebody, and you also don't want it to be pop off all the time every time you run into somebody. It's just all about that balance, man, with these games. I swear, like, I would be such a benefit to one of these arcade motocross game companies just because I've experienced it all. I've seen it all. And I know when something is like too much in one direction or not enough in one kind of direction. So, yeah. But that was kind of their goal with the Live. They really wanted to push that you can bar bang more in this game as it being like a new feature of some sort. I'm not really sure really how that was actually a feature now that I look back at it, but in all reality, I just think Reflex was better on the collision side. So, but kind of see what the deformation is doing here. Not affecting the bike a crazy amount. I mean, it's certainly not like, oh, my Lanta, these ruts are making my bike do things on the track, really. It's just not quite to that level. Still kind of got a smooth vibe, but it is more than what you would see in these modern-day milestone games. Well, that's for damn sure. Take the inside, change it up a little. So you can still kind of go up the inside like that, and you're not really going to grab into a rut. I mean, this game does kind of have a similar traction-y feeling to like MXGP3, where you can just go up the inside and you're going to grip to the ground, you know. It doesn't really have a whole lot of that, where you really got to focus on making sure that the back wheel is planted when you go up the inside. You don't really have to do too much of that in this game. Certainly not as much as you would on Reflex, that's for sure. But kind of automatically does it for you in a way when you dig up the inside. So sometimes that can give you the illusion that you're hitting like a inside terrain deformed rut, when in reality it's really just you're gripping the dirt really hard on the inside. So, oh man. Yeah, I don't know. This game just kind of, I mean, it's fun and all, but it is certainly a different animal than Reflex. There ain't no doubt about it. It just really seems really weird. It seems like this game would have came out before Reflex, not after Reflex. It's just so bizarre. Like, this game has the actual seat bounce button, you know? I don't know. It just seems like it literally would have went like Unleashed, Untamed, Alive, and then Reflex. That kind of seems like that's the way it would have went, but nope. Reflex came out literally more than a decade ago. Then it went to Alive. Then it went even worse to MX vs. ATV Supercross. Then it got slightly better when Encore came out. But yeah. So, I don't know, man. We'll see what goes down in the future with this franchise. I'm really got some high hopes for the next one, but I don't know if they're going to be able to really pull it off. I mean, All Out was okay, but I just don't think it was anywhere near like a legendary MX vs. ATV game level. You know, I don't even think I would put All Out on Alive's level. I still think Alive was a little better than All Out. And then Reflex was better than Alive, so I still don't think they've really got back to that kind of MX vs. ATV status, right? But all it takes is making one good game with a good track editor, and that shit can live for decades. Literally decades. Kind of crazy how that works, but okay, so we're probably on about lap 10 right here. You can see it's certainly changed the look of the track, no doubt. See, right there, I really tried to dig into that inside rut, and it really didn't catch me too much. Let's see what we got here. Let's take a little gander at what we got here, brothers. All right. Whoa. Getting reflexed out here. Getting reflexed. A lot of good scrub jumps on this track, though. And there definitely is still a scrub mechanic to Alive, which is so missing in a lot of these modern motocross games. It's really just a whip mechanic in these modern games. It's not really like a scrub and whip mechanic, right? You really have to have played these quite a bit to know exactly what I'm talking about there. But yeah, I do kind of wish the deformation was just a little bit sturdier than it is here. Like, these inside ruts should have been where they could build up just a little bit more and grab you just a little bit more. It's kind of got that, like, in-between sturdy and soft, but definitely more on the soft side, you know, for sure. No doubt about it here. But some of the tracks I feel like do get a little bit beefier of ruts than this one. It's not seeming to do quite as much as like the Stewart compound and shit like that. Track gets pretty muffed up on that, but the ruts have to get pretty damn gnarly looking when they're this soft for them to actually have any kind of physical feeling to them. You know, they got to look like they're massive to really affect the bike at all. It's not really wearing down that jump face any. Okay. Going up the inside there. Let's see. I mean, it's definitely rutting it all down here, but oh my God, that was a fast line. Scrubbed like the base of the hill up over the hill. Yeah, it is definitely faster hitting this on the left and just tripling it. I'm not really getting far enough up the hill there, but that's because I'm scared I'm going to over jump it. And then hitting this where you just glide down the hill. Okay. Kind of can snag that rut a little bit there on the inside. It's kind of cupping out that outside jump of this rhythm section here. Okay. This rut, it looks like I really dug into it right there, but to be honest with you, man, like, it's more of the physics of how grippy you get in the cornering of this game than it is the actual deformation of the rut grabbing the bike in the corner. You know, very, very similar to MXGP3 in that sense. It seems a lot like the deformation is doing a lot more than it really physically is. Just from the physics of the cornering of the game, right? Probably on like lap, I don't know, 12, 15 right now, something like that. So yeah, not a whole crazy amount of changing going on here. All right, we'll just hit this shit wide open, see where it puts us on the face of this. And then I overjump it, but that's got to be faster. Just don't need to get reflex there. But yeah, there's definitely some levels to the skill gap of Alive. I just don't think it's quite as deep as Reflex on the 360 was. Okay. Okay, that's like a double. Yeah, that's a double. Okay. Alright. I thought that face on that finish line was going to get way more wore down, but maybe they kind of have their deformation, quote-unquote, turned down a little bit on these drier tracks to try to give you the feeling of, like, you know, it's not going to dig a fucking massive-ass sand rut on a dry, hard-packed blue groove style track. So maybe that was kind of the vibe they were going for with making this track have a little bit of a lower you know, deformation feel. Not exactly entirely sure on that, but is there even any real sand tracks on this game? Like, I'm trying to think of all the tracks in my head. There's the snow track, the tropical style tracks. You got these dry tracks, and you got the standard dirt, like woodland style tracks, but I don't really think there's a whole lot of sand tracks in this game. Holy shit. I just now thought of that. Like, there's not even really a full-blown, you know, Sandwick-style sand track in this game with, like, super hardcore deformation. That is definitely disappointing when I realized that fact about this. You just got to understand the amount of time you can actually put into those sand tracks of Reflex with how much they change with the deformation. It's like riding on 5 different tracks in one track. That's how those sand tracks are on Reflex, and they're just so different than the Supercross tracks or the other motocross tracks in the game. So it gives you such a varied feeling with it, right? But, yeah, I mean, Alive is fun and all. It just doesn't keep me quite as engaged as Reflex does. Like Reflex stock tracks on the 360. That shit, it just feels so endless. It's, like, unexplainable. There's a lot of, like, custom tracks on the PC version of Reflex that just are not even in the same stratosphere of the stock tracks of Reflex. So I think a lot of people that just buy Reflex on PC and then get on there and ride on a bunch of the custom tracks aren't really getting the full effect of how Reflex really felt back in the days on the 360, and the fact that the 360 version of Reflex just feels completely different than the PC version. Okay, let's see here. All right. Probably the best I've landed that so far. Now we're starting to cook it up a little bit. Little track cut. Gonna get a 3-week suspension for that one, boys. Okay, probably on like lap 15 to 20, somewhere in that neighborhood now. Man, it would have been cool to have had a track editor in a live and not just in MX vs. ATV Supercross Encore. That would have been badass. I would have actually went in there and made some tracks for this if they would have come out with the PC version with the track editor on it. I literally would have done that in this. But like the Unleashed track editor is kind of that old school. If you ever did any kind of map editing or level editing on basically any PC game from like 2002 to 2007, it's kind of got that same, you know, style of editor on it. Very easy to use. So that's pretty cool about the editor of Unleashed on PC. All right. But yeah, you can definitely get into some good battles in this game when you're riding with your buddies in split screen and shit. Can certainly do that. Oh man, we jump way down the hill. Way down the hill. I guess you could almost consider some parts of this track a little bit sandy vibed. But I just look at this as being more of a like a hard-packed dry dirt more than I look at it being sandy, you know? I kind of just look at it a little more like that. Okay. Woo! These rut tester videos, they wear my ass out, boy. This video just keeps going and keeps going, and I just keep running laps and keep running laps and keep trying to think of something to talk about. Oh, my Lanta. At least we got these videos going again, man. And we're going to have them streams popping off like crazy. And hell yeah, brother. Dude, I got to pause it. I got to get a tea break. Oh, man. All right, here we go. Yeah, it definitely kind of puts me in a trance here whenever the deformation kind of gets to that point where it's not really doing anything else. So I can't really say anything else about the deformation. It's kind of just like, look at it. Would you just look at it? Yeah, it's not really doing anything else. Holy Spency boy. But this is definitely what I would call a fan favorite track of not only Alive, but I would say this is a fan favorite of the entire MX vs. ATV series. No doubt about it. Dude, I feel like Reflex, like every track on that, stock track-wise, was a fan favorite of the MX vs. ATV series. It's like the damn If You're Reading This Is Too Late Drake albums. Like every song on it was just legendary, no pun intended, right? That's what I feel like about Reflex for the MX vs. ATV franchise. But yeah, there's definitely that weird, just kind of, sometimes when you come up short on something, just barely in this game, I feel like it cuts out your momentum too much. Reflex just keeps a certain flow to it. Like, yeah, you can flow in the corners of this game, but the second you start hitting like a roller section or any kind of thing like that, and you're not literally landing everything perfectly smooth, it's just kind of, you almost come to a stop, even though you're on the throttle wide ass open. Whereas Reflex is a little more, the bike just kind of glides over the obstacles underneath you a little more fluently, even if you come up short on something. But it doesn't mean it's easier, because you'll still wreck your shit on Reflex. It's just you got to have the skills to control the bike under you versus just, it just slows you down, you know, by hitting like a roller or coming up short or something. So it's kind of two different gameplay styles there for sure. I need to jump that a little further too. Keep landing like kind of on the back side of that. Yeah, I just wish like right there, that inside rut. But it's funny when you get these games that they do have so much of a traction-y feeling to them, it's almost like you don't even need an inside rut. It wouldn't even make a difference if there was an inside rut here. There's so much grip in this game that it's just like, what? It ain't going to make you go faster by having a super grippy inside rut, it really wouldn't. Like, I'm just telling you, that's kind of the same way with MXGP3. Like, it wouldn't even matter if you had a bunch of inside ruts. There's so much grip to the ass end traction of the game that it's just, man, that's crazy when you realize that about it. It wouldn't even matter if it had an inside rut. I mean, yeah, you can still spin out in this game. You can still lose your ass a little bit, but, dude, there is so much grip in this game compared to, like, Reflex. It's unbelievable. I mean, it is unreal. But, yeah, maybe that's why some people do kind of like Alive. You know, potentially more than Reflex, because it does kind of have that. You can go faster in this game quicker than you can go super, super fast in Reflex. There's no doubt about it. I think this game is definitely more beginner-friendly, like as far as you're going to look like you're James Stewart in this game a lot quicker than you're going to look like you're James Stewart on Reflex. You know what I'm saying? So, kind of has that sort of a vibe to it. That's the corner. It almost had a little bit of a sandy feel. But yeah. And by the way, this is my gameplay by literally never playing this game anymore. If I sat down and just really like focused on this for a week, I would be like sharper than a tack on this shit. But I would never be spinning out anywhere if I really was playing this game. But yeah, dogs, that's about it for this one. I mean, the track's not really changing anymore. I don't foresee it changing anymore. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of thinking it would have done a little bit more on this track specifically, but it didn't really do what I was thinking it was going to do. I mean, it's not like terrible deformation. Modern day MX GP games, you know, it's not terrible, but it's also not going to blow your socks off to any extent. At least it does seem to wear down the faces of some of the jump faces. I can say that about it. But yeah, it's just not like making an actual sturdy rut enough as I feel like it should. Finally hitting that all the way. But Alive does still have enough of a good enough of a physics system and whip system and scrub system that it does keep you engaged to a certain extent, for sure. Just not quite as much as I feel like Reflex keeps me engaged. But it still keeps you more engaged, you know, than you're going to have on a lot of other arcade motocross games out there. That's for damn sure. So, either way, man, that's about it for this video. I don't really know what else to say or show. Let me die a couple more times here. But that's about all she wrote for this track. The old Valley of Pistons, boys. Either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.